The Fibre and Foil podcast is brought to you by the Card Care Academy. On this episode of Fibre and Foil.
Oh, I guess it's a smash or pass Pokemon. That's what it is. That's what
Oh
we're
my
doing.
god! Obviously Smash!
If you're ever struggling with cards, it's really advantageous for you just to learn basic card anatomy.
You can start to control other little pieces and parts of that process, and that includes taming the memory of the fiber.
You gotta untrain that memory to make it flat again. It is wild. That thing was heavily bubbled creased.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Fiber and Foil. I'm Professor Douglas. Here with me is legendary card care, my buddy Austin. I'm Dream Eater Card Care. That's what I go by. If you're just popping in, if you missed the first couple episodes. Anyways, let's get down to it. I'm excited to be here. Today we're talking about humidity, but first, let's just chat some Pokemon. Let's hang out, dude. We just got a new Gen 10. What's up with that? Got a favorite? You excited?
It's had some controversy. Yeah, it's had some controversy. I'm a big Pombon guy, surprisingly enough. I like that little fire Pomeranian. It very well could be
Pomeranian.
Yeah. It reminds me of like a better designed Arcanine.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah. I didn't think about that until you said that, but I like that comparison actually. I've been into the Gekwa mostly because it's pretty straightforward. It's a gecko and it's aqua.
It has got some fabulous lashes.
yes, you're right. Yes. I've always been a water type. I like water Pokemon. Blastoise in the first game, that was my stuff. Burped. Dude, they just released actually Fire Red and the Leaf Green, right? For the Switch?
Yes, for the Switch 2. They released it. And now all the millennials can finally learn what it means to grind Pokemon games.
Yes, this is actually what I'm going to
do. No more free shinies. No more free shinies.
Hell no, dude. I'm not a huge fan of like the modern games. Well, I'll say this. I played Arceus and it felt super dead. I feel like the new games, the Winds and Waves are coming out.
Yeah.
That will probably be a lot cooler and not feel dead. I know that ZA did really well, did over like 1 billion in sales or something crazy. But seeing as how Call of Duty only took like $700 million to make, I feel like they could just make a good game. Just make a good game.
They could.
They only spend like 25 million or like, actually that's not even right. They spend not enough. How about that on games?
Yeah,
I was looking it up. And I was like, just dump a bunch of money and win already. But yeah, the new games are looking cool. The Pokapia game, I'm sure, is white girl heaven. Absolute white girl heaven.
That one is, I believe, last time I saw the ranking reports, like top 3 for all best Pokemon games or something like that. I could be wrong.
Really?
But it's highly ranked. It's highly. Well, you got to figure it brings Minecraft and Pokemon together. Like, that's a freaking dream.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as like Animal Crossing meets Pokemon.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like it's gonna just be like Animal Crossing, basically. I only watched the YouTube thing about it last night and was like, oh, my wife would play this. Finally, a video game my wife would play. She's not huge into Pokemon, so anytime I could get her on the hook for something, it's like, nope, you're gonna eat this. Take the Pokemon. Take the Pokemon. Love Pokemon, darn it. But the reason we're here, cards, Pokemon cards. Let's talk about humidity, dude.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So it's one of the biggest things with at least card restoration, right? And even if you're not fixing cards, you need to be aware of it for when you're storing your cards and binders and collections, everything like that. You'll see the famous, kind of curve like this when you're storing a Pokemon card. It's just because of humidity levels, right? But the reason why we care about it so much when we're fixing cards is you need to be able to get a card malleable, right? There's only a couple different ways you can get a card malleable. The most common method is humidifying. Okay. If you think about how a Pokemon card's structured, you have that like front plastically layer. Everyone knows it's like plasticky, right? And then you have that middle cardstock, and then you have the back, which is pretty much just exposed cardstock. And we have to be able to get those fibers to swell, to be able to move and kind of redirect them. I know you and I kind of use this, make it like clay. That's
Yeah.
essentially what we're doing.
Hmm.
So that's why humidity is really important for card restoration. But as far as like storing Pokemon cards, what I like to do is I stick a silica packet in my binder. That way, I don't get that little humidity curve with my stuff, and the silica packet helps keep them dry.
Yeah.
So for you guys that are just tuning in and wanting to kind of learn how to store Pokemon cards as well, because that's important,
Yeah.
you
Just
just
normal
chuck a little silica
collectors.
packet. Yeah, just
Yeah.
chuck a little silica packet in there.
Same with vendors. If you have just bulk in bulk, just like in a tote or something, throw a couple of those in there. Nobody wants to, pop out a card at a show and be like, oh, well, it looks like this. So I don't know about it. If there's a little bit of a curve and you're planning on grading it, I know that PSA and like grading companies don't ding it super hard, but story for another
They
day.
don't care.
Yeah, story for
Yeah,
another day. You still don't want it to get
they don't care.
humid. You don't want that. But when you do want it to get humid, the first thing you buy as a card restorer, I would say, is just a little shoebox humidor.
Yep.
That's what we use. If and that will get it soft enough to do just about most things. You could round out a dent. Um, you could get out little corner bends, little edge dings like that. It gets it just soft enough to where you're able to, do. I call it like minor damage. Um,
Yeah.
that's what I use. Now,
So I'm a little bit different. I can use a humidor. I get out my creases with the humidor 95% of the time, right?
mhm,
The reason why the humidor works, right? If we just get one of these little Scotty box humidors, right? I like the little gray ones because, again, I'm gaudy. So I like to be gaudy with my stuff. But what's really nice about the humidor is you'll see this little analog on here, right? If we're looking at this little analog, this will tell you the percent of humidity in there. Okay. Why that's important is we like to play a guessing game of guessing what the card's internal humidity is. And because that kind of determines how well something's going to move. You can get super, super fancy and you can weigh a card before, after, during humidification sessions. That way you can kind of see, like, I know it has this, I know it's this wet, etc.
I've seen people do
But
that.
yeah, I do is, I weigh my cards before and after treatment. That way I can make sure it's officially dry.
Hmm.
But what's really nice about the little humidor is even though it's simple, it's super effective. Okay. That little analog on there, it will say like 70% humidification in that enclosed humidor. Okay. What that means for you as a card restorer is okay, I have 70% humidification out there. If we look at my little humidification in my room, right, I'm at 21%. Okay. So I know I'm going to give that card a bunch of humidification just based upon using the humidor alone. Okay. When you stick a card in there, it's really important to do a couple things. Okay. Some people like to use little dies, kind of elevate it off the floor because you don't want to put it directly on the floor because you got to figure you're using water vapor. So you need something, right, to kind of hit that card. So putting it up on a die allows you to kind of put it on there. Again, I try to be fancy. Our editor Quan was very, very nice. And he made these little platforms for me where I just stick my card on these little platforms,
Those are pent.
keeps it off the keeps it off the ground, I mean keeps it off the floor of the humidor, and it's also making sure the whole entire card gets humidified. Right.
Hmm.
Something interesting you guys are going to see, and you'll hear this term very often as we go along this podcast series, is you're going to get something called a U curve, right? So a U. Okay. The reason that happens is your sealed enclosed humidor is at 70% humidity. So your card is naturally going to adapt to that 70% surrounding environment. And since you're not directly putting water on the card, we call this passive humidification. Okay. It's very gentle. Your card slowly adapts in there. Some cards take an hour, some card can take up to 6 if you're talking about very thick vintage cardstock. But what happens is you get that U curve, right? If we briefly touch on the card anatomy we just barely mentioned, you got to figure that back layer doesn't have that front plasticky part. So that's going to absorb everything. And as it absorbs, kind of start making this shape. Okay. I mean, it's more of a C because my hand's weird, but you start making
Right.
that shape, right? And so you'd be like, okay, this card's got a decent U shape. I could probably start working on it, start working out these creases, start working out these dents, stuff like that. It's, it's really cool to see. But something really interesting I know you and I got our hands on, and I've been using it, is these little holders.
Yeah.
It's made by Rocket Collects. He is like, hey, sometimes drying out these cards, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get them like laser flat again. If we can keep it flat during the whole entire process, why using passive humidification that's super, super gentle, then it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
So he made these little holders. You stick your card in there. Okay. So if I'm going to grab a card real quick. All you do is grab a card. You're going to stick it in our little humidity holder. Okay. Slide it in there. Keeps the card flat as it's being humidified because you have these windows that still lets it hit the card. And then when you take the card out, it's still malleable, but you don't have that significant U curve
Yeah.
anymore. So when you
You're
go to dry it,
controlling the memory of the
exactly.
fiber as it starts to change and like
Yep.
loosen and
Yep.
soften. Those fibers start to want to break apart and relax. And why they do, because it's relaxed, that moisture has like nowhere to go. Humidity rises. So that
Yep.
also kind of helps with that, like that Ewing, basically. And if you can control that, actually, paper conservationists use that a lot in like Gore-Tex humidity chambers, which is a little different. We could get into that another time. Gore-Tex is very interesting, but they'll put like documents, historical documents, or like maps, stuff like that. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll use weights and uh, little clamps, stuff like that to control the fibers as it starts to absorb humidity. And the reason we use a humidor in the first place, and especially paper conservationists, blah, 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 it's just less abrasive. It's you get a more even absorption. You have way less risk as far as like swelling, water spots. It doesn't take as long to dry as well because you're not just pumping a bunch into it. And that kind of
Yep.
plays into Rocket Collect's little thing where it's like if you're going to use the humidor for, you know, a method that isn't as what's the word for it? Intrusive. Intrusive is a good word.
Yeah.
You can start to control other little pieces and parts of that process, and that includes uh taming the memory of the fiber so it'll be easier, you know what I mean, to get it dry flat later. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got to figure everything you're doing to a card. I know we've brought this up before, is fibers have memory. Okay. So whether we're making a U just from doing something super, super passive like a humidor, you got to untrain that memory to make it flat again. Sometimes it's
yeah,
easy, right? Like you can chuck it in a reverse hydro, dries completely flat. Sometimes you have to chuck in the heat press, right? But the whole entire thing with working with cards is in one way, shape, or another, you're untraining some sort of memory. Because you got to figure from the factory, all these cards came undamaged, right? Along the way, they got hurt, they got broken, kind of like us when we grow up through our teenage years, right? That's when we start going through our emo phase or whatever. You
Jeez,
got to figure
dude.
we're getting a card.
Oh
We're getting
my
a card in
god.
its emo phase right now. So we have to like,
Wah!
be like, all right, come on, it's time to grow up. We're gonna get you back to how you were. So it's
My
kind of what
Chemical
we're doing when
Pokemon.
we're working on cards. Well, it's the
Oh,
truth, man. I mean, I remember like
Ohio
bullet
is
for
for
my
Charizard.
Valentine, tears don't fall. It's like
What's another good one? Fallout Squirtle? I don't know.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying here. Spaghetti at the wall, baby. You can do this forever.
But so that's your I mean, so that is what like Doug and I classify as passive, non-intrusive humidification. So those are some key points I want you guys to remember because as we further expand upon concept, it really, really important for you to understand the foundational basis here. The next step is direct. And Doug, I'll let you start talking about this one.
Sure, dude. So really, I when I first started using different methods of humidifying a card and wanting to swell it and do different things. At first, I kind of figured hydro pumping is great for things kind of more classified as like a delamination when things
Yeah.
just are not moving as well, especially micro creases. So those are like a couple things I look out for when I'm like, all right, this is requiring me to use a hydro pump rather than just the humidor itself. And really all direct is just basically what it sounds like. Instead of the card absorbing the moisture from the surroundings and not really touching it, but the face of the card, direct humidity is just what it sounds like, is just touching the face of the card. So like a hydro pump is when you get two Cosmin foam pads, spray like 5, 6, 7 sprays on it, get parchment and put it in between as like a
Diffuser.
a diffuser, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And just slowly pack that card with humidity as slow as you can, or else you'll get swelling on the edges and stuff. So it does kind of require a little bit of a touch, and it's more risky. Uh, Fibers tend to swell unevenly sometimes with it, so sometimes it would help to throw it in the humidor first overnight and just kind of get a
Yeah.
nice even humidification first and then throw it into that to further soften. So it's just another tool in the tool belt. Um, what else was
Because
I
if we're
gonna say
thinking
about
about
it?
like direct, what's really nice is everyone knows Kurt, right? I love Kurt. That's how, that's why I'm wearing one of his shirts today because I love Kurt.
Oh no, I didn't
But
even notice that. That's awesome. I
yeah,
want one.
it's the good old spray and pray, brother. That's what you do. That's
Yep.
all direct is. You get
Hmm.
your spray, put a little mist on there, clamp the card, wait, see what happens. Be like, hey, look, it improved. We're doing another spray and pray. Okay. So here at the Card Care Academy, we use a couple different terms. Okay. If I grab a Q-tip, right, I put some water on the end of it. Let's say I have a dent just on the back of the card. It's only one isolated dent. So I'm like, you know what? It's just one little thing. Okay. So I'm just going to get some water on the end of one of these Q-tips here, kind of dab that water right there. And what's really cool is you'll start seeing it kind of swell and blossom. You just kind of dab it off, put it between the Cassamin pads, and then you get something really cool where the Cassamin, since it's a porous foam, porous meaning having holes, the porous foam is going to absorb that excess moisture and help lay the card flat again. Okay. That's what Cassamin's really good for is dents and warps. Okay. I want
Yeah.
you guys to remember that. Dents and warps, you want to use Cassamin. And since it's going to push that layer back flat. Okay. When we're doing an isolated drop on something, there's several different terms. You hear called snail trail is one of them. Water gun is the most common term I hear used.
Yeah.
When we're doing the most common, spray and pray brother technique, it's called a bubble beam. Okay. You can do 1 to 2 sprays. Okay. Once you start getting above 2 sprays, you want to make sure you're using some parchment paper. I like to buy these. They're 6-inch round, unbleached parchment paper on Amazon. Okay. Super cheap to do. Main reason, if you're going above 2, you're going to get those swelling of the edges, like Doug said. You're going to get all these other things, and you probably might get a texture shift because you're shoving so much water into that card.
Yep.
The parchment is a great diffuser. Okay. And then once you start getting into above 2, that's where you kinda have, like, your light, medium, heavy hydro pump territory where, you can do Castleman foam, right? If I'm fixing a dent or a warp, I'm doing a hydro on Castleman. If I'm fixing a crease, I am a little bit strange, right? I think I say this a lot in the podcast.
You're a freak, dude.
I
You're a
like to use
freak.
I am, I am. I like to use EVA foam, okay? EVA foam is non-porous, so what that means is the foam's not absorbing any of the moisture you put on this card. It's going all to the card, okay? So if you need a card as malleable as possible, EVA foam. What it does is you have this diffuser here, this parchment. The parchment's going to absorb the water and it's slowly going to diffuse across into that card, okay? And once you clamp it, you're making it essentially a small enclosed micro dome environment, if you would, of humidification, and it's pressurized since the clamps are like 2.5 to 5 pounds about. You're making a pressurized environment, okay? Very, very different than a humidor, okay? Humidor is very passive, it's open, the card gets there where it wants to get. Here's like, nah, buddy, I want you to get as wet as possible. So you're shoving it in that,
Uh-huh.
hydro pump and you're like, you're getting there if you want to or if you don't. It's very, very direct, very aggro if you want it.
Yeah, yeah. It enters a card quick rather than, slow. I mean, it's just like a
Yeah,
easy, it's simple to think about is that if you want to start working on something fast, do that. Just
yeah,
I sometimes I'll do it for like 4 hours and just take it out and be good.
yeah.
But you can't spray a bunch or else then you're kind of messing up
No,
the ratio a little bit,
yeah.
in my opinion.
And I think the hardest thing with hydros is since it becomes so popular, is the whole entire aspect of getting that N curve. So you'll see this giant N on a card after you dry it. So like I got this random little card right here.
Nice.
We'll look at this card, right? See how it's got that little freaking wonky shape?
The diagonal of doom.
Exactly.
That's what I call
There's
it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it has been a pain to get those straight. I don't care what you do, you heat press it, whatever. Such a pain. And so what's really nice is got these now. Okay. Hydration phase spray. I'm telling you, guys, it's the best crap ever invented. Okay. If you have a horrible end curve, you do hydration phase spray, you do 5 sprays on each EVA foam. Something different is you do 2 layers of these. Okay. 2 layers of those, leave it for 4 hours. That curve's gone. Curve's gone. You could heat press it after, reverse hydro, whatever you want to do to dry the card fixes that freaking end curve. Okay.
Hmm.
Because I think that's why a majority of people are like, oh my gosh, I can't get this crease out. I'm so scared to hydro pump because I'm going to get a giant end curve after it. Now you don't need to worry about that. Okay. Use that shiny acid exchange hydration phase spray. I think he sells it on Whatnot. Use that, fixes the end curve. And that way you're not having to worry about the diagonal of doom.
Yeah, it's a good word for it. I'm just saying. I'm actually still waiting on my bottle of it. I can't wait to play around with it. I like how card restoration is basically choose the route of what you're comfortable with and mitigate risks. You're just rolling dice. I mean, it's gambling. That's all this is. Marsh was talking about how this is basically just like card counting in a way. And there's going to be along the way products and kind of more developed techniques which are going to start mitigating those kind of risks, like you were saying. Like if you're going to if people are afraid to just jump off the ledge and just hydro pump something earlier on because they just don't want to deal with that crazy diagonal or like it drying weird or whatever, and like or changing the
Yeah.
texture, things like that. It's something that holds them back from going for it. And I just think it's really cool that so far one thing after another is just being thought about and just kind of tackled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's well, you gotta think about it, like, people have been fixing cards probably for such a long time. Kurt originally came out and is like, "Hey, guys, this is how I do it," right? Because I think when him and I spoke, he was going out to card shows just seeing if there's a need for his product, and once he started doing that, he's like, I'm gonna just film myself doing cool stuff with cards." Start coming up with these different techniques that all of us really use now, and that's what's so cool is, especially in the CCA, the Card Care Academy, is, I'm able to come out and be like, "Hey guys, I found this freaking massage pen. I know it works. I don't understand how it works. I need someone to help me understand why it works and further develop it," right?
Mhm.
Card Care Academy, you guys come out with ideas and we're like, "Hey, let's further expand upon that. Let's further expand." And until eventually we get to a point where like, that's freaking great. And that's all card restoration is sharing of techniques to not only fix cards, but just learn different things. Like every single day, I'm learning something new. Like I'm learning so many different terms I didn't even know like a year ago. Especially when it comes down to cards, like the hydrogen bonds. With
Mhm.
cards and fiber swelling, and there's something called hot spots with a hydro pump, where if you don't spread it evenly on the foam, you leave like a little puddle on that foam pad, and that's where you get that localized swelling, and you're like, "Oh, crap, now I got, like, a little bit of water damage or something,"
Yeah, those
right?
water spots, yeah.
And, yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me, how all these things kind of happen, and just kinda how far we've come. Because I know both of us, as we've been throughout our card restoration journey, have learned so many different techniques, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better?
Mhm.
It's just really, really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so one thing, I don't know if this is a great segue or not, but drying. Let's start getting into drying
Yeah,
just a little bit here. Let's
yeah,
dip our toes, baby. Um, I think we've gone over enough on humidity. If you guys don't think that, you know, we talked about it enough, throw some comments in, the comment section and whatnot. Direct message us if you have like little, questions about it. I think that we have a section on our Discord for this podcast that you can drop questions and stuff in. So if anybody ever has questions on, do you think this is a good thing to hydro pump, or do you think this is a good thing to just throw in the humidor? Throw it in the general chat. Throw it in the Discord. The Discord is a tool. Anyways, drying. I figured I'd throw that in there.
yeah.
But so drying has been a cool, very difficult thing, and I think this has kind of been a theme on our little journey of how humidification works and little
Yeah,
tools and devices to make stuff easier for later. I mean, it's the big two things, and I think there's different ways to go about it. There is like a reverse hydro pump, which you just just set up for a regular hydro pump without any water and just throw it in
yeah.
there, and that Cosmin foam is going to want to pool that moisture, and that parchment is going to wick it slowly away and then transfer it into that foam. And you want to, switch out the parchment every 24 hours or 12 hours or so.
Flip the pads.
Mhm. Also with the pads, or just get new pads. Either way, you don't want
Yeah.
that imprint of the card to like transfer. That would be horrible. I've never done that by accident, but I always foresee it happening on accident some way, someday. Um, a great thing to use to know if your card is dry or not fully, if you're not, super using technology like a scale or, things like that. Just look at the parchment and make sure there's no more ripples on it. That's what I do.
That's kind of the easiest way. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so something that's really important to know is I see this a lot in Discord of people peeling backs off of cards. Okay. I want you to know why it happens is, let's say you get your card super humidified, right? Let's say you do like a snail trail on that area and you're like, okay, I got the dent out. I'm going to now press it. Okay. What happens if you press wet paper against something? It's going to peel. Okay. even if you're using a photo sleeve, a sleeve for trading cards, it's still gonna peel majority of the time. So, it's good to kinda dry it out after you do that. Either in a
Mhm.
reverse hydro, you can put it in, a fire punch if you really want to, but, let's say you just did a humidor, 99% of the time, it's pretty safe to press afterwards after a humidor, okay?
Yeah, it's
You
not
see so
too
many
floppy.
people. Yeah, yeah. So you just stick it either between some I use a graded card sleeve. I slit out the sides. That way it allows more airflow theoretically,
That's a good
and
idea.
you press it on there. Another common thing I see as well, and Batty likes to use these, is just a photo sleeve. He uses two clear little photo sleeves, put this card between there, presses it between parchment. I mean, not parchment, but acrylic sheets.
Mhm.
Uh, I just have parchment majority of the times. I'm using parchment because I like that indicator, tell me when it's dry.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the three most common things I see right after a humidor. As far as drying after direct moisture, if you're just doing the spray and pray method, just leave it in the foam, let it dry. You can flip your foam if you want to, let it dry between the foam. If you're doing a hydro pump, reverse hydro is kind of my go to. I like to just put it in a reverse hydro, let it dry. So that's just, acrylic plate, cast them in foam, parchment, card, parchment, cast them in foam, acrylic plate, sandwich it, let it dry. If you really want to start getting fancy, okay, not saying you guys need to, I use something called a dry tote. It's what they use for, I think, mainly camera equipment. I, that little, this little guy, this little mini, I think it's called a hydrometer, from
Hydrometer.
what I
Yep.
remember. Yeah. That little mini hydrometer, measures something called RH, which stands for relative humidity. So that's telling about you how much water is in your air. Okay. The dry tote allows you to manipulate that RH in an enclosed environment. So I'll put something in a reverse hydro, leave it clamped, put it in my dry tote, and I'll slowly ramp that RH down to like 25%. Leave it there, let it rest for a couple hours, change the parchment out, and I'll start letting it ramp back up to like 35%. Because what I don't want to do is after I've brought it down to 25% RH, take it out, expose it to higher RH in my environment, and just have that card go and then immediately absorb all the moisture.
Mhm.
So a big thing that I think is important to know is after drying out a card, you need to let it rest. Let it rest for 48 to 72 hours minimum, unclamped. If you just want to put it somewhere in a safe environment, you can do that too. I just put it between uh, pieces of acrylic with some parchment, unclamped, the acrylic super light. Put it there, let it rest for a couple days just to make sure you don't get that warp from it coming back to whatever RH your room is.
Mhm.
I later on down the season will dive into how I get my RH down below 30% because again, I'm strange. you know,
You're a bird.
I
Now,
am. I am.
what would you say about like speaking of resting cards, getting just like a little container and using one of those silica packets like in that?
I think it's a
Is
good
that
thing.
enough
I
to
mean,
rest the card?
yeah, I've tried foil armor quite a bit. Foil armor's good for minor warps and stuff like that. I really enjoy using that. I'll just grab like, a little, I'll grab this guy. This one's full of a bunch of cards right now, but just something like that, right? It's sealed. Chuck a little silica packet in there, put your card in there, just let it kind of rest, right?
Yeah. This
And
is my
then,
finished case actually. I got my little silica packs on the two ends here. And when I'm done with a
yep,
card, I'll just have it naked and just kind of put it into one of these slots and just kind of leave it there for a couple days after I'm pretty positive, 100% sure that it's like dry. Getting no more ripples on
yeah,
anything. It's pretty goddamn flat. I'll throw it in here. I tell all my customers like, "Listen, your card is done, but Imma keep it a couple more days because 'cause I'm terrified." Um, one thing I think we kind of forgot to bring up is like the core of the card
Oh,
and
yeah.
both humidifying that core and drying that core. And the big difference between that core getting wet between a humidor and something more direct humidity. Um, I don't know if you have any little things that come to mind as far as that goes, but
So Alex Baer did a little experiment in the lab series in our Card Care Academy talking about the core. So let's say you get a card super, super wet after a hydro pump, right? And you chuck it immediately into a heat press. Sometimes if you fire blast, that's when you're doing 170 degrees for 6 to 8 hours in your heat press. You're not only using the pressure, but the heat of the heat press. You can cause that black core to spread to the edges, and you'll notice your yellow borders begin to darken. That means you dried it completely improperly, right? You got to figure that core. I'm not too familiar with the card anatomy, but to me, it seems like they have to either use paint in the factory or something like that. So if you get that wet, you got to figure it's just paint, so it's going to spread,
yeah,
right?
it's like an ink. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so that's when you start seeing your like edges darken and stuff like that, and that's just from you trying to forcefully dry it. A good thing too, and I forgot to mention this, so I apologize, but blotter paper. It's what they use to press flowers. You can use blotter paper. Let's say your card's dry, right? Still got like a little bit of a warp. Put it between some blotter paper. And a lot of times that blotter paper helps wick out that moisture a little bit more aggressively than parchment. The only hard thing is if your card's still wet and malleable, that blotter paper may imprint its texture
Yeah.
onto the card. So you gotta be careful with that. But if you're getting your core super, super wet, you know somewhere in the process they used way too much water. And it happens, right? I've done that plenty of times to cards. The easiest thing though is don't be using a heat press to smush it and try to dry it out that quick, right? That's when you start
Yeah,
getting
you'll
those
get that
texture
like
changes.
snap effect almost where it
Yeah,
just goes when that core is like way too wet and then you sap too much moisture out of it all at once, you get what's called like the snap effect. And that's when
yeah,
you start getting that diagonal bow of doom or when the cord starts to want to expand and goes past the edges, like you're saying. I actually did it like a week ago on something that I will probably still end up posting because it was a pretty crazy fix at the end of the day. I just had to go to the fucking moon and back to fix it. It was a really hard
yeah,
Espeon EX. Expensive. This is a big boy, but I did
yeah,
have a little bit of what you're talking about where that black starts to want to like pop out of the edge. Expand, yeah, expansion and retraction is really big in card restoration. I mean, you're swelling something up and then you're taking it out. Big, small.
yeah. And that's kind of how you get that texture change a lot of people see is like the reptile, alligator skin, whatever texture you want to call it, right?
Hmm.
A lot of it's due to either A, you're pulling out the moisture too quick. You're not allowing those fibers to resettle flat. And let's just say, like, if you take something super, super wet, you're like, hey, man, I'm just going to sap moisture out of there within like 30, 40 minutes. You're going to get that freaking lizard skin on there. I don't care,
Yeah.
whatever, right? Couple different ways people try to fix this. I see people use a lot of pressure just to ensure that that doesn't happen. I'm not a big fan of using a shizload of pressure on a card. I
Shiz.
the heat press.
Shiz
Yeah,
load.
shizload. But then people
Okay, I
use a
like
heat press too, and if the biggest thing with the heat press, this is what I'm telling just from personal experience, after you're done hydro pumping a card, for 24 hours, 4 hours, let it rest out inside of your hydro pump for like an hour, okay? 'Cause sometimes if you heat press a card super, super wet, you gotta figure you have to use parchment in there. That parchment's gonna wick, it's gonna form a wrinkle, and then when you're doing pressure with the wrinkle, you're gonna cook that wrinkle into the card, okay? And I'm sure Shiny, because he's the one that made this method, gets so many DMs like, "Oh my gosh, I messed up my card using your method." It's like,
mm,
"Nah, you didn't really mess it up using my method, you just didn't do it correctly," right?
mhm, mhm.
But what's nice about doing a heat press is you're drying out the card over a couple of hours, then using even pressure. You don't wanna use a bunch of pressure. I tell people, like, medium to medium light pressure. You want the heat to relax that card, not the pressure, okay? The pressure is just there.
The pressure's just guiding. It's not what's doing the
Yeah,
fixing, it's guiding.
yep. You wanna make sure, like, when you're using heat that you just, kind of let it do its job. Like I tell people with the hydro pump, I try to fix some really crazy bubble creases. I tell people I'm letting the hydro pump doing 98% of the work. I'm letting that thing do its job, okay? And you'll see that a lot with these kind of fixes where like, "Oh my gosh, I've left in a hydro pump for 30 minutes, the crease isn't gone." Not long enough, brother. You gotta let that moisture work its way into the card.
Yeah. Patience is, the name of the game with this, isn't it? It's a cruel,
Yeah, I
cruel
agree.
wench, these cards. The game of card restoration's cruel bitch. But,
Well, it's just like, sometimes you get these cards and it's just like, "Oh my gosh, I don't think I can fix this," right? But you just have to try, right? That's the whole
yep,
entire thing.
yep. Every card restore, they tell if you're a customer and you're watching this and not just like another restorer or just like a collector or something, and a restorer is like, "Yeah, I can fix that." That's them like, "I'm pretty sure I can fix that." That's not like 100%, motherfucker. That's like I'm 99%. There's never really 100%. Even now for me, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 99% sure I can fix that." Once again, it's card counting. That's all this is. I love that Marsh made that comparison. I've been using it a lot lately. It just makes sense to
Some
me.
people are like Rain as well. Sometimes
Yeah,
you,
Rain Man. Yeah.
uh, yeah, some people in card restoration are just like Rain Man, right? Like they're just that freaking good. You're like, man, I gotta step up my game. It's just
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I send you glass blowers all the time of like, no, this is LeBron James. Like, I don't think you get it. Like, this is if this was basketball, this is like the LeBron James of glass blowing. There's people in
Yeah,
this industry of card restoration that is also just like, what are you, a magician? I hate you. But to to get back to drying, we have a tendency to kind of veer off, guys. But that all, that was all relevant. That was all relevant. Let's get back to kind of like some. We have enough time.
yeah. I
Uh,
know we have. Quan is actually surprising us today with a surprise segment. So it's going to be interesting to see what we have to talk about today.
yeah. Well, let's finish drying first, real quick. I wanted to throw something in, as far as blotter goes, because we were talking
Yeah,
about blotter. Um, there is a rough and a smooth side of blotter. Use the smooth side, and it helps. Just use parchment too. You could kind of do a reverse hydro pump,
yep,
but with parchment. Use the parchment as, just like a little protector, if you will, of any texture of the blotter. I use it here and there. If it, especially, I actually especially use it when I'm using the humidor. Um, it just kind of works for me. I don't feel like it saps it too fast, and you can also double up on your layer of parchment if you think it's a little bit too wet on the backside. Put two pieces of parchment on the back, and then the blotter. But I just felt like that was relevant, and I needed to throw that in. Sorry,
yeah. No, that's
guys.
fine. That's what
Yeah,
we're here for.
yeah, absolutely. We can edit whatever whatever out. But is there any other drying methods we might think of? Oh, for the last one, you could just clamp stuff in just parchment to dry it. Let's say that you're using like a straw
Yeah,
method and you just want to fix like a little lifted edge or something, and you're not humidifying the entire card. You're just doing like one spot. So let's say you get a straw, you blow on an edge, you work it with a bone tool, you clamp it in that one spot for like 2 days, take it out. It looks awesome. You still want to throw it in like a couple pieces of parchment paper just to make sure that everything is out.
yeah. No, I agree. Whenever you're adding moisture to a card, you gotta make sure you sap it back out. I don't.
Yep. Doesn't matter how
That's just kind
little
of
you
one of the
do.
yeah.
I don't care if you're like, well, I didn't do the rest of the card. This should be just okay and just throw it in penny sleeve. No, no, shame. Try it. Shame. All right. We can move on now.
Quan surprise segment.
Just like us, baby. We're all over the place.
Oh man. Oh yeah, we're looking at a Pokemon here. I'm
What
bad
the
with
hecky?
Pokemon names, especially middle evolutions. I know it evolves into a Gudra. What's it, Sliggoo? Yeah, Sliggoo. That's its name.
Gudra. I don't like that name. Ugh.
Dude, Gudra's OP, bro. I don't care what you say.
I don't like it. It's
Well, it
goo.
evolves from yeah, I can't remember its first evolution now that I'm on the spot, but it's essentially a little uh oh, I guess it's a smash or pass Pokemon. That's what it is. That's what
Oh
we're
my
doing.
god. Obviously smash. It's good.
Oh, geez. I'm gonna
What?
pass.
Why is that weird? It's not weird.
I'm not saying anything.
I know you're not. Yeah, that was a surprise segment. Smash or
Yeah,
pass?
Celebi, smash or pass.
Hmm. He's small, so it'd be easy to smash.
Oh, Jesus. You know what? I'm gonna say pass. You know, I got a certain image I need to uphold. I've been a good boy lately. You know.
Like a little tube for it. Move on to the next one. What do we got next? You're sick.
Oh,
Smash
Shieldon? Is that
me?
his name? Shieldon?
That's a smash me.
I'm gonna pass on this one.
Stop passing.
Well, there's no freaking emo stuff up here. I don't know what you want me to do. There's no emo goth Pokemon. Oh, geez.
Also smash me.
I'm gonna do smash on this one.
Yeah. Smash.
Oh, Mesprit. Smash. Yeah, that's
Smash.
fair.
Smash.
Bolthound? I don't know what his name is.
Pass. Smash.
Pass.
Obviously smash. This is a no-brainer. Smash. Next.
Smash.
Blood Eagle. I don't know if that's an option. Blood Eagle.
Oh.
Blood
Jeez.
Eagle. Azkaban. 7 years.
Yanma. I'm gonna pass.
Blinding stew. I'm going to eat a blinding stew that blinds me for 2 days and then smash this Pokemon. But I'll be blind for it. Smash. Still smash. What is that Pokemon?
I know it evolves into that hippie water
Oh, the hippo?
monkey.
Oh, I would pass.
No.
Turns into a hippie.
Yeah, like its evolution's like a hippie water monkey.
What?
This one's Simapore, right? Simapore is its name. I'm not good with the new gen stuff.
Yeah, me either, man. We're old. We're just old. We're gonna die soon.
Damn.
You're 30. Are you 34 or
Pass.
33?
I'm 29, bro.
What? You're not even in your 30. I'm gonna die so soon. Shit. I'm so old. I'm 33. I want to be in my 20s still. That's not fair. Well,
Pass. Oh. Staraptor? Nope, that's not Staraptor. God, my eyes are so bad. Pass.
that's a pass on me. I don't do birds. I don't do fowl. You can't. smash a foul. That's
Well,
it?
that was interesting.
Alright, so you've
Yeah.
embarrassed us both, that's cool, man.
Hey, at least there was no, like, low punnies and Vaporeons, we're okay, so
Oh, man, I forget what it was now, but I think it was Alex teaching how to edit, like, photos, and he posted it in the Card Care Academy. But there's, like, an Easter egg in it of just, like, low punny, low punny, low punny, low punny, low punny, low punny. It's just, like, hundreds of pictures of low punny for no reason. I was like, "Oh, what are you doing? What is all this? What is even that? It's not good. Don't do that.
No,
We don't do that."
no. So I
And
guess, our biggest takeaway from this episode is
yeah, what
not
is it
smash or
all in
pass
all here?
Pokemon,
Jesus.
but
Um,
it's, so I want you guys, if you're ever struggling with cards, it's really advantageous for you just to learn basic card anatomy, right? I think that was my biggest thing that really helped me start working on cards better was learning card anatomy, learning why you're doing what you're doing to the card. Okay. You just, it's makes it a lot easier if you know, like, hey, I got this dent. A dent's just an impression on a card. How do you lift an impression? Drop a dot of water on there, make stuff swell, and then suck the excess moisture out. Super easy. And that's the biggest thing with humidity is we're doing things on purpose and purposeful. We're not just like chucking something in a hydro pump and being like, oh, well, I hope it fixes it. No. Okay. Doug
yeah,
and I
do
both
things with
work with cards
intention.
that are, yeah, Doug and I both work on cards where, don't get me wrong, I still do my practice cards every day because I want to be the best. I mean, I'm going to be the best, but I still do my practice cards because there's still stuff that I'm working on and still stuff that I like to experiment with,
Yeah.
and moisture is just one of those things. And that's what's, so interesting about the hydration phase spray because what's really cool, right? If I shake it up here, it like got bubbles that actually like move and stuff into it. So the solution's like, I don't know what's in it. I know it's not IPA, but that's what's so cool about it is seeing all these different things come out. Because if you're doing distilled water versus Kurt's card spray, you're gonna get a difference. Okay. You gotta figure Kurt's card spray has a little bit of IPA in there. The alcohol evap is gonna dry out quicker. That's why you'll see Kurt do like, a mist on each pad, put the card in there, a couple hours later, go look at it because the card spray's gone. It's dried off.
Yeah.
If you're doing it with distilled water, it's not going to evap as quick. So it's important to know, like, hey, I need to use a little bit of alcohol with this thing. You need not to use a little bit of alcohol with this thing. But again, for the basics of humidification, we make fibers swell, we guide that swelling, and then we dry the swelling. Simple as that. No need to overcomplicate. No need to be like, oh my gosh, Austin said he uses a dry tote. I need to go get a dry tote. No reason for that. Okay. Start at the basics, work your way up. Learn to walk before you start to run.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you want to chuck in there, Doug?
No, no. I mean, hey, you basically said what I was gonna say. I wrote in like my little notes here because I'm a nerd. I need notes sometimes. So my little talking points, but in conservation, especially, it's just it doesn't have to be rocket science. We're gonna say that over and over and over on this pod. Like these feel like complicated notions, but at the end of the day, just simplify it in your head. I mean, in conservation, fibers absorb water or moisture, hydrogen bonds loosen, fibers become flexible. Move them. When humidity goes away and it dries, new bonds form and the paper sets a new shape. That's really all it is just get something soft, move it, let it harden. Uh, That's
Yep.
just keep that in your mind. Like there's more nuance to this than that, but don't overcomplicate, especially if you're just starting
No.
out and you just want to fix a couple edge lifts or stuff like that. I mean, put it in the humidor, take it
Yeah.
out, You can guide the card back, not move, but guide things with tools like, the bone tool, the card tool,
Yeah.
which is you could get Kurtz, but I just have a Sharpie with some it's some tubing I
Aquarium
use for my
tubing.
fish tank
Yep.
changes, water changes. Keep a straw on deck. This is, I guess you would call strawing, blowing on something with a straw, a mix between passive and direct.
Yeah. I could see it kinda go either way, for me at least. I mean, it's one of those things, and the biggest thing is, like, if we're using a straw, you can get, like, super weird, right? I like to use these.
Is that a
Some people are
chillum?
gonna make
Yeah, it
fun of
is a
me.
chillum.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hilarious.
people are gonna make fun of me, call them, one hitters or whatever. It's
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
one hitter, I promise.
Crackheads use it
It's
for
a
crack.
they do.
Sorry. Anyways, go
I
on.
use it's a borosilicate glass straw, okay? Biggest reason why I like this is I have a straw and I have an edge tool in one. Now this is where Doug's gonna make fun of me. Heat the end, right? I'm blowing through the end. I'm getting warmer humidified air on that edge of that card
Further softens it.
that's less abrasive. Yeah, it gets it less abrasive than steam, right? And if I want to, I can heat this edge here, use it as a card tool, kind of flick that edge down, especially if you're working on that front plasticky part. I don't care who tells you what. More often not than not, to get rid of that hard line, you have to use heat.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
that
care.
plastic needs to soften, and water is not the thing that's going to soften that plastic. It's just not. I mean, you can make the fibers inside of it swell to push those marks away, but for the most part, sometimes you have to like iron it. And that's why I made the heat spoon because it's a little bit less,
Yep.
you can see through it rather than using the heat pen and you not knowing where you're at type of thing. Um, I would say, there's going to be things that people do differently. I was talking with a fellow card restorer that also is a whatnot streamer, sells cards. He kind of fixes up, heavy play, makes some light play, sells cards. Cool dude, Mr. Ferrari. You should follow him. Good dude. But he has, instead of a humidor, he travels a lot, he tells me. So he takes his little setup wherever he goes and in his hotel room. He just fixes cards like a G. But he has just a little Tupperware and like a little mister. You could get it off Amazon. It's probably like yay big. It's like egg shaped, and you put the water in the top, mists out the bottom. He opens each corner and just kind of mists inside of it, and then just closes it, waits like 20 minutes, and that card is fucking juicy pretty much. It's like a faster humidor, but again, you're kind of mixing direct with indirect because there is actively more of a mist in that chamber rather than like that air having humidity in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's different
I
things
mean,
you can do.
I know the thing that I messaged you about, what was it, a couple weeks ago, that I've been messing around with is how they grow plants. You have that tent with that little mister that goes in there when you're growing plants indoors. That thing's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like to chuck cards in there. It's AI regulated, so it tells you like what temps in there, how much humidification's in there, etc. But you do that, and you're mixing, like you said, passive and direct, and it's a good combo of both worlds. But that gets your cards really, really malleable, super quick, and you're essentially you're working with organic and inorganic material in a card, but similar bonding properties.
I'll
Uh,
show you some bonding
that's what's really nice
properties,
about it.
some organic bonding properties.
Jeez
Sorry.
Louise.
Uh, yeah. So I guess to finish off here, um, I don't know why I'm like this. Uh,
You're good.
you can you can make decisions. There's tools in your toolbox here that we gave you today. There's indirect and direct, and then a mix of the two, apparently, that we can call it.
Yeah,
And think about your ratio of how bad the damage is, how much you're going to need to fix that damage, and how long you're willing to wait for it to dry, and how much effort you're going to put in to make that card dry the way you want it. So it's a little bit of
Yeah.
a dance. It's a bit of a dance. The less, I mean, is once again, it's so simple. The less you put into the card, the less you gotta take out, baby. So do with that what you will,
I know
motherfucker.
in the Discord, someone did pop up this Umbreon fix, and I think that'd be good to talk about because
Yeah.
it is wild. That thing was heavily, heavily bubbled creased across it, and I was like, gosh darn, like, Eric, I think his
Oh,
name
this
is,
one.
or their name, sorry. Yeah. Uh, thing's freaking wild, man. It was fixed so nice.
Dude, it's edge to edge too. So one thing that you'll probably agree with me here is things that go to the edge are always harder. For me,
Yep.
they always want to pop at the edge because it's exposed. So it doesn't want to, stick down. I would say one thing that's helped me is once you get the rest of that crease down, put some extra heat on those edges. Those EX cards are really hard to fix. They're stiff. For me, they're stiff, and the foil on the edges makes it even harder to like seal up those edges too when you're done
Yep.
with the spoon or a heat pen or something like that, even the heat press. But I bet
I don't know.
humidity and just some pressure made that go away.
Yeah. If, we always like to do this. If you were to get that card on your desk, Doug, how would you fix it?
I'd spit on it. No, I would
That's fair.
stop judging me. I would definitely throw it in the humidor and do, like, that step-up method that we were kinda talking about of
Oh, yeah.
putting it
The
in the
two
humidor
step.
first. Yep, the two-step, do the two-step, and, I just get the whole thing nice and evenly, because it goes from east to west, the entire card, and that
Yeah.
whole top all of the layers are gonna wanna have to move all at once, so or account for the shrinkage too. So, I'd get the whole thing kinda curved up in a humidor, and then I would probably just hydro pump it from there and see where it's at and see kinda what goes down. It almost looks like in the middle to the left of the 20, there's kind of a break in the bubble too, where it
Yeah.
kinda, like, reaches the card again or it's laminated back down. So, I would probably start at that point and take care of the right side, like, start in the middle where it touches the card is laminated still, and just push that bubble down from middle to the end. Same with the other side, and then try and lock it in with some heat. I would use my spoon probably and just kind of smooth out where that is and kind of try and dry it out to make it like stay put basically. I would sap the moisture with
Yeah.
heat and kind of get that top layer to want to stick. It might even
Well, and
go ahead.
like bubbles, I feel are so hit and miss. Sometimes you get them to lay perfectly flat, and then like a month later they'll pop back up, right? And so
Yeah, in like the
as soon as you
middle of
get
the
that
card.
sucker, yeah, like as soon as you get that sucker to lay flat, you're express shipping it to PSA. I'm telling you, like you have to.
Yeah. Go, 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 go. Yeah, hilarious. I haven't
But
had any
so
reports of that, thank God, too, but it's always, like, in my
yeah,
hands, I'll be like, "Alright, yep, I got 2 more cards of yours out of these 15," and then I'll be ready to ship something, and then it's like, "Never mind, dude. I got another week ahead of me because this one card keeps popping." So, they're tough.
yeah, they are. I mean, I don't know. Bubble creases are just. I think my biggest thing is I try to do my EVA hydro pump. I'm doing it heavy. I'm doing it heavy, heavy, and then when I'm doing it,
No humidor to start,
I'm trying to get the.
just
I
right
don't,
to it.
not with bubbles.
Fair enough.
I just go straight to hydro
Mm,
pump.
mhm.
And then I'm doing a heavy, heavy hydro pump. Like I'm doing 8 to 10 sprays minimum, and then I'm sticking it in there, and I'm waiting for those bubbles to lay down. And then like at the 2 hour mark, I'll work it a little bit, just kind of like with the massage pen or even a silicone brush, just to kind of be like, okay, go back down, go back
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
12 hours, repeat, 24 hours, chuck it in a fire blast technique. And then the last 2 hours of my fire blast, I'll do an extra screw down, a little bit tighter, just to make sure, like, hey,
It
you guys are
stays.
staying down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll do that. And then even after I do that, I chuck it in a clamp for like 3 days minimum. And I'm doing like a big old 6-inch clamp over those bubbled areas for 3 days, checking it. And if I feel like, hey, I'm going to do an extra day that way, I'm going to do it that way. It just takes a long time to get those down.
Yeah. I'd prefer a bubble crease over a micro crease any day of the week, personally, but
Yeah.
one's harder than the other. But at least with a micro crease, you have a better chance of nothing like popping back. It's just kind of you invert it back to the card stock and it's a smaller, it's not as wide of an area. So you have less risk of it just. But here and there,
Yeah.
I've had a bubble crease just like very small, and it was on an e-reader, and it was in that thicker yellow border. There's just a tiny little bit of a bubble. I just threw it in the humidor, and the card itself swelled up, like underneath of that bubble, swelled and caught back up to that bubble, kind of, if that makes sense.
Mm,
And it just laid itself back
yeah.
down with that U. I kind of use the U to my advantage sometimes. Sometimes if you have a micro crease even on the back of the card, um, back creases are a lot easier to tackle than front, but you can use that U to kind of relax and stretch that crease out a little bit. It's not going to do a lot, but
Yeah.
it helps at the end of the day. But once again, it just
Yeah.
kind of depends on what you're doing. They're all just tools in the tool belt.
Yeah. And also just practice because the more I, f- I feel that a lot of card restoration is just pattern recognition, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I've seen this card before, worked on a similar era. This is what I did, and just immediately pattern recognition.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure. Well, dude, we're
But yeah, for that episode,
I think
I
we
feel
we
like we dived in a
hit an
lot
hour.
today.
Yeah.
We will, yeah, Doug and I can chat to you guys forever, but we're trying to do these as like short, concise, but informative sessions for you guys. And the biggest thing I want to say is thank you guys for all the support. These last couple of weeks have been absolutely phenomenal. Uh, Many of you guys know I'm very scared about doing this type of thing. It's very direct type of thing. And Doug shares very similar things on that where it's a lot for Doug and I to kind of come out of our little uh foxhole, if you would, and do
I
these
tell
type of
my
things.
friends and family, like, I started a podcast and I teach people a lot and I'm nice to people, and everyone around me is like, "What? You do?" And I start
Yeah.
telling people at work about card care. They're like, "The fuck? You're weird." Like, it makes you sound smart though sometimes. I'm like, "It's really not that smart. It's just Doug get card wet, Doug move card, Doug make card dry, Doug make weld, Doug blow glass, Doug make pong." I tell people that all the time. I'm a simple man, damn it. But I
But
am
thank you
happy that
guys so
people are
much.
watching. I am very happy that people
Yeah,
are
it
watching and
it
learning.
it
I
means a
hope you guys
lot.
are learning. I mean, we're gonna do
That's
this
the ultimate goal.
like you said, we're putting a lot of effort into this. We've already re-recorded like a couple episodes because we were like, nope, not good enough. We're too
Yep.
crazy. We want you to learn the best way
Yeah.
possible, and that is just by slowly breaking down how to fix a card and hanging out in the process. So